This episode was previously recorded in front of an imaginary studio audience.
Time for Fun Knife Friday!
Hi everybody, happy Fun Knife Friday. Tobias here. I know you're expecting Skip. Well, he might join you in a little while, but quite frankly, he's still recovering from the entire Halloween bash that he had at the Volcano Club, and man, was that one heck of a party. And that clown, he was definitely the star of the show. Could that guy ever juggle cleavers? And yeah, there's a big act going on with him and everything, but man, he was really cutting up food and everything else. And he was like one of them hibachi chefs or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. Guy who works the grill with the spatula and a knife, and he's cutting everything and flipping it up in the air, and he takes a shrimp, he'll toss it up in the air and bat it with the spatula, and he'll have it land on your fork and all that. That's what this guy was really, but he was just cracking jokes all night long, and it was just a great time. Man, I don't even know how he survived it. But anyway, that's not what you're here for. You're here for Fun Night Friday, not to hear about how much fun we had at the Halloween bash that you probably missed. But in any case, Woodman's pal, that's what I'm breaking out for you. And boy, is Skip going to be mad because he wanted to show you this, but it's like, you know, Skip, you're recovering. I got the Woodsman's pal in my hand. I'm going to do the video. And he said, well, I'll see what I can do anyway. And so you might see something from Skip on this too. I don't know, maybe in the near future or something. But a lot of people have been asking about this thing. A few people at least have been asking about this thing, about the history of it and everything else with it. And Skip is kind of teased people with it. And so I thought I'd break it out and talk a little bit about it. And if you can see here on the cover, Woodman's pal since 1941. And it's a big mama jamba of a knife. And so I can see why Skip would like it. But you can also see, if you look closely at that blade, despite having that black coating on it, this thing has been used on more than one occasion by me for its general purpose, and that's basically cutting up trees. When we have trees fall because of wind damage and stuff like that, I break this out and I start cutting it up, and I've done it on more than one occasion. I've also dug up shrubs with it. Great for cutting through roots and stuff in the ground, because you got this big, thick, heavy blade. Now, as you saw, since 1941 this thing has been around. And you're thinking, what happened in 1941? Oh yeah, the United States Army went to war at the end of 1941. Well, this was not designed for the United States Army. Some people think it was, but it wasn't. It was actually designed by this a Swiss nationalist who immigrated to the United States, settled in Pennsylvania. Guy's name was Frederick Ehrsam. E-H-R-S-A-M. Yep, I'm reading right next to me over here. And basically, this guy was an engineer and an artist and a woodsman. You know, somebody went out in the woods and did stuff. And he was looking for something that would be an all-in-one land management tool. So, like so many people out there, is looking for something that could do everything. One tool to do it all. And this is what he came up with. And so what you got is this very heavy blade. This is not one of those thin machetes. This blade has some decent blade stock. I'll give you the measurements at the end here. And then if you notice, it's got an edge running from here all the way to here. This portion here is dull. This front portion here is dull too. And then you got this, what a lot of people would call a bill hook up here. It's a recurve, and if you notice there, well, maybe you don't. Yeah, you do. See there? You got that edge going on there. And it's only sharpened on one side. So this is that, what do they call it? A chisel grind, but it is a convex edge going through there. And that's so that you can actually hook it on a branch and pull down and cut through it. So if something's up above your head, you can actually cut down like that on some small branches. But this can be used as a machete, you know, for cutting through light grass, but it's not really good for light grass. This is really for heavier branches and stuff. So you can actually fell a tree with this if you need to. A tree that's about 10 inches wide. You can actually chop a tree down that is that big with this kind of blade. And it's a very heavy blade, and if you notice, it is curved so that you're cutting into it. And is it sharp? It's sharp enough for what it's supposed to do. Cut through wood. This is not something that you're going to be using, you know, your paper test on, unless you want to basically ruin the grind on the blade so that it doesn't work the way it should work. You know, there's different tools are designed for different methods. So basically this is a very flat piece of steel, and then you've got the edge right here, and it's probably at about 25 degrees or something. Not the best edge for cutting through paper. But if what you're doing is chopping through wood, you want that wide edge so that it's going to split the wood for one thing, but also it's going to be able to take some damage. And if you get too fine of an edge, it's just going to nick all over the place. So it's a pretty sturdy piece of metal or pretty sturdy piece of steel for cutting wood. But that edge is definitely not designed for cutting paper or for shaving. You want to make this thing shaving sharp, I'm sure you could, but it's the blade is going to nick all over the place when you start cutting into wood, especially hardwood. And that's really what this is designed for, is more or less hardwood. So it would work pretty good on bamboo too, which probably explains why the Army Signal Corps saw this and adopted it for the Army Signal Corps for use in the Pacific Theater during World War II. So this was patented in 1941. Almost as soon as it was patented, we end up going to war, and the Army Signal Corps looked at it and said, that's what we need for cutting paths through the jungle and everything else, so that we can actually lay lines and all this other stuff. And then it ended up becoming a tool used by the Army Corps of Engineers and everything else for clearing runways and anything else that you can imagine soldiers needing it for. Ended up going into survival kits and so on and so forth. Now the particular one I have has a stacked leather handle, and then it's got the brush guard is what this is referred to. Most people look at it and think of it as a D-guard, but the whole handle here is a brush guard, so that when you're cutting and stuff, if you actually hit something big and heavy, it's going to be deflected by that. So it is really designed for that purpose. However, you got plenty of room in here so your hand can easily move. You got the protection, but you also have ease of movement within the handle. Now there's also other versions that do not have the D-guard. There's one, and quite often they will have a longer handle so that you can actually get two hands on them, and some of them. And in one case, there's one that is almost like a pole arm, so it has a very long handle, so you can get some really good force coming down on things, and it turns it basically into an axe. Very strange shaped axe. But also, if you notice up here, you do have the sharpened bill hook, which is used not only for cutting through small branches by jerking down, but you can also grab into bramble and briar patches and just pull stuff out of the way. So you can also use this to hook into barbed wire and pull the barbed wire away from the entanglements in front of you and stuff, so that you can actually get through barbed wire and stuff like that. So there's numerous reasons why the Army adopted this for use in the Pacific Theater. And by the time the Korean War rolls around, the Army is still using these things and still issuing them. And by that time, around 250,000 of these are actually seeing service within the U.S. military. So it was a very popular weapon, or a very popular tool, actually. It was never designed to be a weapon, but obviously you don't want to be hit with it, even if this front portion is dull. And even the flat front part there is designed basically so you can shovel into the dirt and everything and not worry about ruining an edge or anything like that. This is your cutting edge, and this is your cutting edge here. You also see this here, and that is also something that you can run up, and when the wire or something hits it, you can grab into there and then jerk from there too. So you don't always have to get it up into the hook portion there when you're pulling bramble and stuff out of the way. So very useful when you think about it. So it was the person who designed it was a person who had actually had experience in the woods and in the field, and he was looking for something that could do multiple things at the same time. And I think that's typically who makes the best tools, the people who actually are the ones who are going to use it. We do know that there's a lot of knives and stuff out there that are designed by people who sit in front of a computer and go, wow, that looks cool, I think I'll make something like that. That's not what happened with this. This was designed for many purposes in mind, and then put together to go and actually do that. And it actually does it quite well, and that's why I've used it on numerous occasions and have successfully used it the way it was intended to be used. And yeah, I know you take one look at this and go, zombie killer. But no, it really is a practical tool. At one time, I made a different sheath for it, kitted it out like it would be, you know, something for Vietnam and stuff. A nice little sheath. I got a little pocket in front and all this other stuff. But I went back to the original sheath. And it's interesting the way the sheath is laid out too. It's got the Velcro closure here. Obviously, that wasn't the way it was in World War II. It was a green canvas sheath that snapped up the side here. And also, I don't know if it has a pouch on the inside. I took the sharpening stone out of there. But you insert it here, and you hook the hook here. The hook goes around that pin, so it stays in the sheath, even if it is upside down. You close it up, you snap it, and then you got a belt loop on there, and that's the whole sheath going on there. Now they do have a leather sheath for it too. Maybe I'll pick that up just for giggles and snorts. But this one comes with the leather circle there, which is kind of cool too. These are not that inexpensive these days. They usually run, I see the list price going around 175 bucks, but I got a feeling they go for right around 100 bucks, 90 bucks to 100 bucks, something like that, if you can find them. The one with the brush guard is a little more expensive than the straight handled one without the brush guard. But I do like the brush guard. I find it handy. There have been a couple occasions where if I did not have the brush guard, I would have definitely wrapped my knuckles into a tree branch. So, because sometimes you're inside the tree cutting and everything else, and it run out of room and stuff, especially when you're cutting tree roots out and stuff. You definitely hit a lot of rock and stuff like that, at least where I've been cutting out tree roots. Any case, with that said, I'll let you go, and I think I'll turn the slideshow over to Skip. I think you'll have more fun doing the slideshow than I would.
Hi, all you knife shatters out there. Your old pal Skip the Sheau coming back at you again. Hopefully I can save this Fun Knife Friday for you. I mean, Tobias, Woodsman pal in his hand, what is he doing? World War II, make an airstrip with it and blah, 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 blah. Come on, do something fun with it. You think he could have at least picked up a cardboard box and like chopped it in half with it or something, you know? But no, just rattle on about stats and stuff like that. I guess that's fun for some people, but most of us, we want to see this thing in action. Unfortunately, I don't have any more time. All I can do is cut the box up because he is yammering on forever, but maybe I'll try and save it with the slideshow. Stick around. What we got here? E-tool. Yeah, now we're talking business. You want to talk about taking on a foxhole? Yeah, E-tool and Woodsman pal. Maybe M1 bayonet, Woodsman pal. Now we're talking fun. Stick around. There you have it, Knife Chatters. Another fun Knife Friday in the books. Remember, if your knife's not fun, you're doing it wrong. Skip out.
If your knife's not fun, you're doing it wrong, and Skip out are registered trademarks of Skip the Show Enterprises. This has been a Cat Production presentation. All rights reserved.